tennis mindset coach Nathan Veer here, keeping these videos fun, vulnerable, and valuable for you as tennis players. So in this video I wanted to share an example. I had a tennis player, an aspiring professional, reach out to me. He wanted some help and potentially work together with me, and he shared his dream, what he wanted to achieve with his tennis. He said, I want to become a professional tennis player, and he was doing a degree as well. And I talk with quite many players who are sort of on that path. And he was doing a study. He was coaching some tennis, and he was pursuing his professional tennis career. So it was a lot, right? And he said, I give myself a year, and then I will see where I'm at, if I have maybe some ATP points, and then I will reflect and see how I'm going to move on. And as he was sharing his story, I was reflecting for myself, because I was in his shoes. When I finished college tennis in the United States, I tried to pursue a professional tennis career, and it was a challenge. It was fun, but when I look back for myself right now, I lacked the belief. I was putting too much pressure on myself, and I lacked a financial plan, like really that was going to help me longer term. Because here's the thing, right? When the tennis player was sharing his goals and his dream, really, I asked him, can I give you some honest input? And he's like, yep, sure. And I told him, well, what's going to happen in 1 year from now? Because from what I'm hearing, it looks like that you're going to quit, right? Even if you do get some ATP points, even if you do make the progress, eventually, like, it's just not really going to work, because you have your study that you may finish, but then you have to teach tennis, but you are depending on a location, like you have to be there in person, right? And when you travel, you can be teaching, unless you're at a tournament where you find some people that you can coach or teach. But then you have to pay for your tennis as well, and he didn't have a sponsor or a financial sponsor. He had some, like, for his rackets and his gear, etc. So in short, it was going to last maybe a year or two, and then he was going to quit. And as I shared it with him, he realized, oh right, he's right. It is, it's not going to go anywhere really with my tennis. And that's okay, by the way. Like, I would invite you for this video also to reflect for yourself, right? If you are a professional tennis player, or you are an aspiring pro, or maybe you are in juniors wanting to get into college, or you are supporting a tennis player as a parent or a coach, right? It's important to be really clear on exactly where you're heading and why, right? Is it just because you want to enjoy yourself for a year of tennis, getting some cool experiences, getting to travel, learning more about yourself, and developing yourself as a tennis player and a person? If that's your goal, that's great. And then if you want to quit, go for that, for sure. But if you, let's say, really want to go after it and really want to see what you have within, trying to, like, what everyone is saying, like, to make it, but obviously, like, make a living, right? Like, reach the top 100, then you need a longer term a plan, right? And more specifically about the finances. So what I suggested for him, I asked him, hey, what is it that you love to do, the money aside? He's like, well, I don't want to play for 1 year. I really want to go after this. I really want to pursue a professional tennis career. That's what lights me up. That's what excites me. And then I said, okay, well, let's see if we can make that work. Because right now, his mindset was like, well, financially, it's just too hard. And by the way, if this is you or if you think like this, I totally understand. And I felt like this as well, right? I thought, well, it's just too expensive, etc. You don't make any money. Coaching tennis is not really an option. But I asked him, right now, what you're doing, you're gonna quit in a year anyway. So like, you might as well, if you really want to go for it, look for solutions, because they're out there, right? I'm not saying it's easy, right? I'm not saying like, well, you could just make a lot of money, or you could just find a sponsor, right? But the players who succeed are the ones who decide, regardless of their circumstances. Like, hey, this is gonna happen no matter what, right? If you look at people like Naomi Osaka, of course she has a lot of talent, but her parents were not rich, right? She had a drive that she was gonna make it. And again, I don't want to sound like you just need to have a determination, a decision, and it's all gonna work out, because so many tennis players do not make it, and you don't hear about all of those stories always, right? But if that's what you want to do, then I would invite you also to create a plan, to think, hey, how can I create a plan to go after my dream, to pursue that, right? And here are some suggestions that I shared with this tennis player as we were brainstorming, right? And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor by any means. I'm a tennis mindset coach. I help like tennis players, to master their mindset and get better results. But here are my insights, right? So I thought, just some ideas. You could offer, let's say, well, first of all, it's really important to understand, like, okay, you have to create some money that you can do online, for instance, because if you are depending on a physical location, it will be tough as you are traveling, right? So let's say workshops. Maybe you could give workshops to academies, to tennis schools for kids, where you share your experience and everything you have learned as an aspiring pro or as a pro, right? How valuable is that for kids these days? And are parents willing to pay for that, right? We'll find out, right? Because how cool is it for a younger kid who also wants to be a pro, who gets to learn from, an example, how it is, what it's like, what they need to develop, and maybe you can share all kinds of things with them. And of course, maybe in the beginning you're not able to charge for this, but you can work yourself up. You could share this on social media, and like as you create a following where you share experiences, for instance, maybe more people are interested in your story, in your tennis journey, in your dream. And maybe they are interested to sponsor you potentially, right? So you get more eyeballs on you that way, right? That's just one example. Another thing you could do, and by the way, also, maybe it's good to work on the finances for a longer period of time before you focus more on your tennis, right? So maybe you have to dial down your tennis a little bit more for a year or two, where you focus more on the financial side, so you have that set up in a way where you can afford your tennis career long term. Players these days, they play until they're at least like 35 and maybe up to 40 years old. So back in the day when you're like 20 years old and you're not, let's say, I don't know how high on the rankings, but like, you're getting old. But these days it's not, the average age when you in the top 100, I believe, is 27 or so. So of course it's going to take some time to get there, but you can give yourself some time, right? It's important to think long term. What are the stages I need to go through financially, with your mindset, with your tennis skills, etc., in order to make it, right? So more examples. It's important, for instance, to learn a skill that you can do online that businesses need. So sales, marketing, things like that, right? Where you start a business for yourself, where as a consultant, this is, by the way, a booming industry that is growing, right? Where you offer a valuable service that a business is willing to pay for. Of course, this is gonna, it's gonna take some time to set something up where you can slowly charge more and more and more, where you slowly can get more clients and slowly work yourself out of the business, so then you can focus more on your tennis. But again, this is just an idea, right? There are ways to make things work, but it starts with number one. You have to get really clear on what it is that you want and why do you want it. If you just want to pursue a professional tennis career just because you want to travel for like a little bit and see what it's like, that's perfect. Just go and do that, right? If you want to pursue a professional tennis career because you want to get to the top 100, like you want to, or even further, right? You want to make a living and just, and do that, well, then it's key to really have a financial plan in place, because otherwise, if that's not there, and I see this with so many players, then you're just gonna end up quitting, right? And it happened to me too after college, right? And I don't want you to make that mistake. And of course, I'm not saying that this is a guarantee, right? These are just a couple of ideas that I shared with this player on how to potentially make it work, because if you're not looking for these solutions and ideas, then it's not going to work out anyway, right? So that was a little bit of a rant, but I want you to look back, or just for anyone out there, with a feeling of I went for it, right? I gave it my all, right? Maybe it didn't work out, but you know what? I learned a ton. I was looking for solutions. I enjoyed myself, regardless where you end up. So this may give you some inspiration to go after it, to get more creative and to look for solutions, because they are out there, right? Whether it's a sponsor, doing something for yourself with social media and whatnot, right? Opportunities are out there. Think like that, Don't allow the voice of, hey, it's not gonna work out, I can't do this. Don't let that voice take over, even though it may seem to be the truth, even though that is maybe what everyone is telling, right? Feed the voice of how I can, how this is possible, how we are going to make this work, right? And then you'll see where you end up. So I hope this inspires you, and good luck and have fun.